Hey, welcome to another video from the Outdoor Analyst. Today I've got a super fun one for you. Today is going to be Bark River Knives, Mike Stewart's top 3 favorite knives. And I just kind of wanted to go over them. I finally have them all in my possession. Normally, I always keep the Bushcrafter, Bark River Bushcrafter in. I also have the ULB that's also in my possession at all times. And finally, what I just got, I'm borrowing this one actually from my father, is going to be the Canadian Special. This is the CPM3 and also the LT version. I think Mike Stewart's is just the regular Canadian Special. But this was one that he made for himself. And I think his order is this is his first, second, and third favorite knife that he produces at Bark River Knives. And I gotta say, you know what? I love it. He's got some great choices here. These are all around really, really well. And I think you can tell that Mike is a hunter above all. I feel like that just comes through in all the blades that he really loves. And that's because, they usually have a nice drop point to them. This has a little bit of a flat there, decent belly. But man, when it comes to the grip for actually just field dressing, they're perfect. They're really, really well designed for that. Now this has his finger grooves that are supposedly, fit his hands really well. In this grip, they fit mine really well. I have large size hands, just kind of so you have an idea. And it doesn't work that well for a hammer grip. Leaves a lot to be desired up here. But in everything else, it fits really well and works really well. So for a hunting knife, I would happily put this on my belt. And now I get why my dad does. So that's pretty cool. One of my favorites is going to be the Bark River Bushcrafter. I find myself with this knife on my side quite a bit. It always goes with me when I'm hunting. This at least is chucked in the backpack when I'm deer hunting, at least as a backup. Now, normally I end up using a knife that's a gift from my father to do actually to have the honors of field dressing. But, you have to have a backup in there. And this one's just great. This is the original version, so it is not a Coke bottle shaped. Instead it is thinner at the top and then it gets thicker as you go back. It has a nice swell to it, and man, it just fits my hand really well. For not being a super thick knife, it is a great all-around knife. And I think Mike Stewart kind of thinks bushcraft knives are not just woodwork. They're everything that you do in the bush. So this is perfect for that. It has a little bit of flat for food, has a good belly, great drop point. It's a nice Scandi Vex, but it's very, very thin for a Scandi Vex. It doesn't have that huge wedge that, say, like an LT Right wood or an Adventure Sworn would. It has less of a wedge than that, so it still does wood well. It doesn't do wood as well, but it does everything else as far as like camp work better than a true Scandi. So really, really cool design. It's not very heavy either, which is really nice about this thing. So that's why it always kind of goes with me. Now, one of the most unique knives that Bark River makes clearly is their Ultralight Bushcrafter. This thing is extremely light, and I think that's what makes it so cool. To me, it's the smallest knife that I can get a full grip on and not feel uncomfortable. I think that's not a small feat. Of all the knives I've tried out, this one is the best small fixed blade that's out there. This is as small as I'll go because I have like 4 fingers on my fixed blades. This is always usually on my belt or in my when I'm going squirrel hunting, it's on the belt, or I put it in the pocket just when I'm running around because I can actually happily pocket this knife, which is rare. It's rare for pretty much any fixed blade, but this one works. It's kind of on the larger end of that, but it does work, and it is super comfy. I take this into the office quite a bit, and nobody freaks out when I'm slicing tomatoes or going through veggies. Very, very cool knife, and man, it works great for squirrels too. That's definitely my squirrel knife. So I understand why these are his top 3, 1, 2, 3, and they are definitely some of my favorites. I find myself carrying this one quite a bit. And then this one actually, the only fixed blade that I'll really EDC, so it finds itself into my pocket every now and then, which is pretty cool, and it always finds itself on my belt for squirrel season because it's just so light. It's just so light. It's super nice. Now, those are his top 3. Good old Mike Stewart. I Got to commend his choices. Those are fantastic. I kind of wanted to go over my top three. I figured I had two eyes here. And surprisingly, these might not make it. We'll kind of go over. I pulled out some of mine. I think the top, my top favorite Bark River knife all around, just because it's so well designed and so well executed, is definitely going to be the Bark River Grizzly first generation. This is a collaboration between Peter Kohler and Bark River, and they just knocked this one out of the park. Now, this does have a customized handle on it. I had Matt Davis redid the handle, made it a little thicker. This is a 1/4 inch of just a really large camp knife, and it works incredibly well for fire making. Super, super comfortable, has a 3-position grip, and it is fairly light for such a large, like 9-inch or 8.5-inch blade. And that's because these huge fullers just take out so much steel. And you can get a nice choke up grip, good hammer grip for kind of taking down branches and clearing up trees. And then if you're actually gonna do a little chopping, the 3-finger grip in the back, it locks you in very, very well. And as far as a big camp knife goes, this is just incredible. I guess you can use it for a pig sticker as well. It does have a good Bowie shape to it. But man, definitely top-notch design. And it is my #1 knife from Bark River that they make. #2, I've had several of these, and I finally got this one back into the collection. Is the Cub. It's basically the mini version of this. The exact same handle shrunken down. And if this had a choil like the original Cubs did, it'd be perfect. Maybe add an extra inch on there and it'd be perfect. But technically it's probably my top favorite camp knife. It's really comfortable. I love the swells. I love what they've done just up here. It's almost Bravo-esque at the front with the just included guard. It has this great bird's beak back here that just keeps you locked. And if you do want to do a little de-limbing, yeah, you can do just a little light chopping with that as well. But as an overall camp knife, it's just beautiful. It has actually a very similar blade to a Falk Neven S1. If you've used that knife, I have used that extensively before I got into Bark Rivers. This is just thinner ground, so it slices better. It's 3V, so it can be thinner, and it's still probably tougher than Fiji 10 and their 420 San Mai stuff that they use. So this is just an all-around incredible camp knife. Now, this is probably my third one, and when I didn't have one of these in the collection, I have to say the Bravo 1.25 LT probably ended up just on me as one of the top camp knives. I love this knife. It is like the perfect size for an all-arounder. It has a little bit of a shoulder. It's almost a full-height convex. Super slicey. It's 3V, so I have no issues with batoning kindling or a little bit of firewood with it. Super comfortable Bravo handle. They have earned their name in having an incredibly comfortable handle. The Bravo Coke bottle works really well. It's not super thick, and yet it still locks you in well, and I'm a big fan of that. So this is probably close to a #3. Now that these are both camp knives, I've kind of gone back to using the Cub for the camp knife a little more. So I might, I don't know. These end up being carried about the same amount. The 1.25, the Bushcrafter, and then the ULB. All three of these for the #3 position kind of have a tie, basically. So I guess that makes this a top 5 list instead. So you get the top 3 knives from Mike Stewart, and you get the top 5 from the Outdoor Analyst here. These are by far the best designs from Bark River, I believe. They are unique. They are well made, well produced. Yeah, they all have little flaws in them. That's just a Bark River. Yes, it's what you get. You're gonna get some really wonky grinds, and let's face it, like you get some wonky fullers. This is about a 1/2 inch off from the end to the other end. You know, it's just little things like that. But as far as the overall performance of them, you know, they're great. They're really incredible. I'm a big fan of them. It's a fun company. They always come out with unique handles, especially on their materials. They're willing to do some crazy stuff. It might not have the best fit and finish in the end, but they're pretty cool, and I find myself using these quite a bit. And they have a lot of competition, I'd say. There's a few knives that will will be right up there as far as the best large camp knife, regular camp knife, bushcrafters. You know, there might be some that beat it in every category or tie with it, but man, I love these. They're just super cool, great choices. And if you find yourself looking at one of these, go for it. They have my approval. I love these things. I've spent a lot of time with them all around. So there it is. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one.